Okay.
I was gonna go ahead and start the recording so people will get the recording announcement when they join, so.
Great.
Hello, everyone.
Like all the faces, maybe
I
we'll get
know.
it all in here.
I know. Nancy and I were just discussing whether if we have 35 people on the call, will we be able to see everyone on one Zoom screen, or is it going to force us to go into
No, they'll
two?
have to be really tiny little squares.
Yeah. Oh, great. Great. This is, yeah, I think we're all fitting so far. I'm trying to stretch out my screen so that I can see everyone. We're going to hear the doorbells as people are entering, but hopefully that'll settle down as soon as the meeting gets started. All right. Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're so excited to see all of you today. This is our second meeting of our Shared Site Learning Network. And I just wanted to alert everyone that we are going to be recording this. We had a couple of folks that commented that they weren't going to be able to join and would love to be able to hear more about the conversation and the resources and what we're sharing. So this will be recorded. I don't know if we'll share it publicly or just to people that ask for it, but we will have that there. I'm Sherry Steinig. I'm the Special Projects Director at Generations United. Since this is a network, I don't know if folks want to just take a look at their Zoom name and make sure it's the name you want to be referred to, or the name that you want to use. And if not, if you want to just click on the name and change it, it makes it helpful for us to know. We also know that sometimes people join from accounts that might be shared with other people, and sometimes the name that shows up may not be your own. So that would be great if you can check on that. I wanted to just first, as we get started, thank you all for joining us. I mentioned this is the second meeting of our Shared Site Learning Network. We've really created this opportunity for people that are working at shared sites or interested in shared sites to learn, connect, get to hear what some other folks are doing, and really just try to share our learnings and our challenges and try to work together to make sure that these exceptional programs can continue to thrive. I want to thank the Eisner Foundation, who through our grant with them, we've been able to develop our new online toolkit, which we'll talk about in a minute, as well as host these convenings. We're planning on doing these about every other month. And then we're going to be looking at rotating the times, because I know that it's really difficult to find a time that works for everyone. We've heard from some of our West Coast folks that this is right in the middle of drop off at some of their facilities, and they're like, can't do that. So we're going to be looking at adjusting the times and rotating to try to find times that are accessible for most people. And then the other thing that we mentioned that we are going to share is a directory of members so that you can connect with each other outside of this. When you hear someone talking about something or sharing an idea that you like, that you'd be able to network and connect. Whole point of networking. So we've already heard from some folks about whether they want to be included or not. If you do not want to be included, just please let me or Emily know. You can DM Emily Patrick right now and let her know that. We'll also send it out, and then you can just let us know if there's changes or edits, like use this email instead of this email, or any of that type of information, because I think that'll be really helpful for us, not just the people on the call, but all the folks that have signed up for the Learning Network. With that, I'm going to turn it over. Oh, the last thing I did want to say is that we're going to try to use a Jamboard, which is a Google document, as a way for us to share challenges. So I'm going to post a link in chat to our Jamboard. So as we're going through presentations and talking, just feel free to click on that, put a sticky note up with some of the challenges or lessons learned that you faced, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy, and I'll share the link for the Jamboard.
Great, thanks, Sherry. Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Henkin. I'm a senior fellow at Generations United, and I am sitting in Philadelphia in my beautiful garden, ready to talk to you all and hear some of the exciting things that you've been doing, as well as some of the challenges you're facing right now. We're so excited about this network because we feel like the couple of times we've met, people have had so much to share and are so anxious to learn from each other. So today's meeting we're going to have 3 presentations because your survey said you'd like some presentations, very short, and we're going to have breakout rooms. And basically, we're going to look at some of the challenges that we're all facing, unfortunately, because the pandemic has not disappeared, and some of the activities and practices that you're using to kind of make it through this very challenging time. So we want to begin with just brief introductions, brief meaning name, maybe the name of your facility and the town or country that you're in. So as I said, I'm Nancy Henkin, Generations United, and I'm in Philadelphia. So how do we do this? Do we go across the top? Does everyone have the same?
No, they don't. It might be helpful for you to call on
Okay.
folks, Nancy.
Okay, now I have to see if I can, because it's hard to read everyone's name, but let's go with Emily next.
Hi, everybody. I'm assuming you're talking about me, Nancy.
I am. Is there another Emily? I don't know. You're the next one on my board here.
Well, good to see everybody and be joined together with all of you. I'm Emily Patrick. I'm senior manager at Generations United in Washington, D.C.
Great. Danica?
I'm Danica Jerry-Unique. I'm also with Generations United. I'm a program coordinator with our special projects team, and I'm excited to be here.
Great. Joanne?
Have to unmute first. Hi, Joanne.
That's a good idea.
Joanne Corrigan. I have a program called Roots and Sprouts in New York, but I am taking a year to live with my mother in California.
Wow. It'll be a whole nother discussion. Interesting. Let's see, Carla.
Hi, Carla Moore and Eric Williams, co-CEOs of United Methodist Community House from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
So glad you could join us. We just talked to Carla and Eric, I think last week. So they're doing some great things. Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Marks from Link Generations in Bethesda, Maryland. It's great to be here.
Thanks. Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Steffen. I'm a PhD student at Clemson University in South Carolina. I don't have a shared site, but I'm super interested in it and really excited for everything that this community has and everything we can learn from each other. So thanks for letting me into this group.
No, we love supporting students. That's great. Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Smith, Creative Connections Director with Senior Services in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And Nancy, you know Lee Covington and you know what our plans are in the future, our intergenerational health and wellness facility.
Very exciting. They're doing some really great things down there. Judith, all the way from England.
Hello, yes, I'm Judith. I'm from Apples and Honey Nightingale in South London in the UK.
Thanks. Let's see, Kathy. You're mute.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Kathy Schurz. I'm the Associate Director of a program called Senior Adults for Greater Education in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, but I moved back to New York, so I truly work remotely.
Great, thanks. Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny Hoover from Kendall at Oberlin in Oberlin, Ohio.
Great. Lena. Nope, mute.
Great. Hi, so I'm Lena. I'm in London in England and I'm a PhD student. So hello, Abby. Very nice to know that there are a couple of us here. And thank you for allowing me to join you for this discussion. I'm really interested in intergenerational programs and shared sites. Yeah, thank you.
Great. I'm glad you're here. Bella.
Hi, Bella Kerr, Intergenerational Officer for Generations Working Together in Scotland. Glad to be here.
Nice to see you, Bella. You don't look like you're in Scotland with your backdrop.
You like my background?
Jennifer.
Hi, good morning. For me, at least, I'm in Oakland, California. I currently am not at a shared site, but this is my dream that I am planning towards, and I come from the early childhood background.
Great, well, welcome. Let's see. Is that Neela? I can't read it. Barnes?
Nika?
Nika, sorry, I can't read my own.
That's fine. Hello, everyone. I'm Nika, and I'm the Director of Special Projects at Andrew Fleck Children's Services. We're in Ottawa, Canada, and we're in the midst of building new childcare centers that will be intergenerational programs. And so I'm very, very excited to meet everyone and to find out what everyone is doing, because here in Canada, it's been very challenging to connect with other programs that are working at shared sites. So thank you.
Great. Well, we're glad to have our Canadian friends with us in this network. Allison. Hi, Allison.
Hi everybody, I'm Alison Clyde, Chief Exec of Generations Working Together in Scotland, and I'm pleased to say that we do, not that we're doing it ourselves, shared sites, but we do have some shared sites in the planning across Scotland, which is really exciting. So thank you for having me.
Great. Jody. No, you're mute. Nope, you're still mute.
It doesn't look like Jody's muted. I just don't know, maybe the mic's not working. I can't hear.
You there, Jody?
We can skip and then maybe come back to Jody?
Yeah. Anyway, that's Jody Schumann. Okay, Carolina.
Hi everyone. I'm Carolina, and I work in the Microsat chair in Intergenerational Studies at the University of Granada in Spain. And we collaborate in the Intergenerational Center of Reference in Granada.
Great. Well, say hello to Mariano for us, and we're glad you could join us. Chelsea.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chelsea. I am with the Eisner Foundation, and we're based in Los Angeles.
And you know how much we appreciate all that you've done to support this, Chelsea. So thank you. Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria Nicolakoutis, CEO of Hearts and Minds Activity Center in San Jose, California.
Thank you. We have our West Coast, and you got up early. And is this Ness?
Hi there. Yes, I'm Ness Kennelty. I'm from the Waltons Trust, which is a new foundation in Canada that is interested in intergenerational projects and particularly in shared sites. And we primarily work in Canada, but we also have a little bit of interest in projects in the UK as well. So thrilled to meet you all. I have to apologize because I have to jump off early for another meeting, but looking forward to hearing from you for the next 15 minutes.
Great, and I hope you two know each other, the other person from Canada. If you don't, this is a
We
good
do.
time to connect. Okay, okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
And Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jerick. I am from Ebenezer Management Services in Minnesota, and I work with two shared sites, one in St. Louis Park and one in Chanhassen.
Right, so you work with Jody.
Yes.
Jody, do we have you on now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Yay! All right, I'm Jody Schumann, and I'm from the Ebenezer Ridges Child Care program in Burnsville. We're on a shared site campus in Burnsville, and I work with Michelle, and then we also, Ebenezer manages the Pillars Child Care shared site campus in Minneapolis as well.
Great. Is that everybody? Is there another page, or that's everybody, Sherry?
I think that's everyone.
Great. Well, this is really impressive. I don't know about you, but it's so incredible to have people come together from different countries, from different parts of the United States, from Canada. And I think we can learn a lot, even though there are cultural differences. And one of the things we might want to talk about is, how does this work look different in England and Spain and Australia and Singapore and different parts of the United States. So welcome everybody, and I hope we will continue to grow this network. I think it's really exciting that we have this opportunity to share with each other. I think we're going to take like 2 minutes, just give you an update on the toolkit. I don't want to have you raise hands, but I'm hoping that most of you had a chance to look at the toolkit. The link is sharingourspace.org, and it's very comprehensive, and hopefully it'll help you if you're running a shared site to maybe enhance some of your practices and give you some ideas. If you're thinking about creating a shared site, we hope that it'll give you a lot of the nuts and bolts that go into planning and staffing and creating activities and sustaining and evaluating, et cetera. It's really comprehensive. So we just wanted to take a couple minutes to see if anyone had anything to share about looking at the toolkit, or to let you know that we want to make this kind of a living document. So if you have, as you go through it, if you have examples that you think should be added, if you have other resources, if you have other practices, we'd like you to email those to Sherry, and you'll have her email since she keeps emailing you about the network. And then we're going to figure out how to integrate them, whether it's into the toolkit itself, whether it's an addendum, but we know that we keep learning, and we keep learning from new people. So the more this can be a, interactive, vibrant resource, the better. But has anyone looked at it? Does anyone have any comments on it before we move on? So I can't see if people are raising their hand, Sherry, with this thing on. Can you? So maybe you can take it.
Yeah,
maybe
I
you can
cannot,
take
but Emily or Danica should be able
It looks
to
like
see
it
also.
looks like we don't have any questions, so we can move forward. And feel free to drop things in the chat at any time.
Great. Okay, so we really want to encourage you not only to use it, but also to send it to other people. Like if you have a team of people, it'd be really great to align everybody's knowledge and to get people to understand both the reasons for this and some of the challenges people have faced and some of the solutions and strategies people have used. So again, thanks, Chelsea, for the support of the Eisner Foundation, and we hope this toolkit is widely disseminated across the United States and around the world.
Nancy, I would just also add, one of the things that a number of folks on this call were really helpful in sharing pictures of activities. So again, if there are other pictures that you have of activities, they don't have to be currently happening, that, that was one of the things that was just really valuable and hard to get. So I would just say that would be something else, and examples or, photos of kind of activities in action that could help demonstrate some of that, or even like spaces, because I think that was the other thing that we're looking for, is seeing, how intergenerational spaces could look and work. So and then I'll hop off. Thank you.
Yes, the other thing is that if you do, if you review it and you have some comments, hopefully positive comments, send those to Sherry too, because as we think about disseminating this, it's always good to have some quotes from practitioners or from researchers to help us promote this and promote the value of shared sites. Okay, any other comments before we move on? Anybody? Everyone sees the link. Okay, if you want to raise your hand, I can see you, or if you want to just put something in chat, that's great. Okay, then we want to move on, I guess, if there's nothing. No, okay. To presentations. So we asked 3 people, although I don't see Suzanne or Jenna on yet. So we're going to start with Judith. People said they'd really like to hear what's going on in other places. And Judith has been doing wonderful work at Apples and Honey Nightingale in London for many years. And we thought it'd be interesting to hear some of the things that are going on right now in the UK, and some of the challenges you're experiencing, and some of the strategies you're using to overcome those challenges. So, go for 5 or 6 minutes if we have time for questions afterwards, and hopefully Suzanne and Jenna will be able to join us too. But we welcome you from London.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that lovely welcome, Nancy. And thank you to everyone. It's really lovely to be part of a team and their support network where you can share ideas and learn so much from each other. I have to say, I said yes, and then I started to think about it, and 5 or 6 minutes when you have to talk about challenges, I could go on forever.
Well, you can go on a little longer, but or talk fast.
I will try and keep it short-ish. I've done a little PowerPoint. It's not beautifully presented. It was just to actually, which I'm obviously happy to share with you, Sherry, if you want to share it later, just to compare. And I do know that some of the challenges we've had in England are going to be different to the challenges that you will have had in America, Canada, Scotland, Spain, and so on. But often there will be a shared theme, you know. And I just wanted very briefly to give you the introduction, you know, the kind of the context. So Apples and Honey Nightingale it opened in 2017. It grew from a dream from another setting I had where I had been visiting regularly a care home, Nightingale House, which is now Nightingale Hammerson because it's expanded to 2 sites. It's a Jewish faith-based setting, and the home is Orthodox. So it's very traditional. We have to fit in with their ethos as well. But the difference is that the home is for Jewish residents only. It's very well established, whereas the nursery is open to everybody of all faiths and none and all cultures as well. The home itself is very multicultural because of the great variety of staff there. One of the things that actually we did, which was really important for us and for the home, was that we have reserved a certain proportion of our places for the children of the care staff at very reduced rates, so that has helped us to create more of a bond. However, the fact is that Nightingale House opened in 1906, and we have invaded their space. And that makes a very big difference when you're working on a shared site. And so some of the challenges which we had before are, you know, going to be exacerbated by COVID and so on. The home itself is big. It's shrunk due to COVID, not just because of natural death and death through COVID, but also because of the fear of going into a care home that has come out of a lot of the media problems. I mean, these are all challenges that I'm sure you're all aware of. It's currently got around 150 residents. It ranges from people who are comparatively independent to those who are coming to the end of life care. It's a centre of excellence for dementia care, and the average age of entry is 92 years old. Wow. So it is very much a care home. The children were, until August, aged from 2 to rising 5. And on the 1st of September, we opened a baby room. So we now have them from 3 months. And a lot of this pressure came from the families who we found were taking their children away when they had a second child, because they needed the same place for both aged children, and also the children of the care staff, because when the care staff wanted to come back to work, 2 was too late. They needed to have their child settled elsewhere. So that is quite exciting for us. And it's also quite a broad socioeconomic spectrum of children who come to us. But we see ourselves as very much serving the local community of whatever faith. Pre-pandemic, we were having 2 to 4 intergenerational activities a day, plus spontaneous engagements. And these ranged from going out on outings together, tea parties, concerts, budded reading. We had a little zoo there, which were not the zoo, sorry, animal corner, I should say, with bunnies and guinea pigs, not quite a zoo. Sadly, that pets corner has gone because the pets died. But we still have a fish pond and aviary, and we now have beehives. And so we're still managing to do something that's very environmental there. We're in the middle of, as Lena will be able to tell you, because she's supporting us in it, a very beautiful arts and craft ecological environmental program at the moment. We had exercise classes, music and movement, maths, literacy, all the areas of learning that needed to be covered under the statutory guidance that the government had given to us. We were able to cover, and obviously everything changed with our challenges and how we responded. So that is a garbled, rushed introduction, and I haven't shared the screen for quite a while, so let's see if I can manage it, and I'll try and get through, show you what I've been doing. Have been doing. Now this looks like it might be it. Let's see. Yeah. Here we are. Let's see if we can start at the, is it? Now that does not look like a PowerPoint, does it? No, so
No.
stop there. Let's try this at the PowerPoint again. Share screen. Here we are. Right, there we go. So there we are. So if you wanted to contact me, but you're going to get the contact list of Sherry, so that doesn't matter, that's fine. What were our challenges? Well, there were so many, and I'm sure you'll have covered many of them yourselves, but time, we had no warning, we had no time to prepare. It was really panic stations. It just happened that our head teacher had given in her notice at the end of February, and everything blew up in March in England. And we had no head teacher, we had all the crises. We learned who through it, what did we find? We found who we could, who we could rely on, who could work well under stress, who was a team player. And we had to accept that we may not be as good as we wanted, but what we did would be good enough, so long as we kept something going. There were major challenges. Some of our challenges were legal. The government legislation insisted either that you shut or you opened. There was very little choice in it. And the guidance was constantly changing. Often it was not practical to actually implement what they were trying to get us to do. For example, they said that if somebody had been in your setting, even though they were in a mask and they were in the set within a meter of you for 1 minute, then that meant that we had to close, that there was a risk of infection. And the response was that, let's see if I can just, I'm struggling because I can see you all and it's covering my writing. There we are. I'm keeping up to date with all the government updates we did. We were writing and rewriting COVID policies and procedures, but we were being very careful but pragmatic, and we had to just use common sense because there was only so much you can do. Other challenges were the funding and the finances. We had extended closure periods if there was a positive case. And if that was so, we were advised legally that we had to refund parents 75% of their fees if we were not offering the full program, which we obviously couldn't do if children were not on site, and we weren't allowed to have them on site. We still had to pay our staff and all the ongoing costs. The cost of PPE and the extra cleaning and the extra staffing was massive. And the government, whilst it actually provided funding to state schools, to all school-aged children for PPE and to care homes, and actually did not provide funding for early years settings for over a year. There was the cost of all the extra administration and the paperwork. How did we respond? Well, we initially introduced Zoom programs for all age cohorts. For the we had 2 different age groups, and they were delivered from home by the teachers working together. And because we were open as a daycare, we would provide 2 of these a day. And we also sent home worksheets, activities, and we wrote to parents offering them the reduced funding with the option to donate the difference. And many of them did take us up on that. And that actually was what kept us afloat and made a massive difference. The other challenge was staffing. We had rolling cases. One teacher would go down and then another teacher would go down and then a member of the nursery would go down with COVID and someone else would be tested positive. And we found that we just couldn't keep coming back. And it was incredibly difficult to get cover staff because you couldn't have strangers coming into your setting. And also there's a real shortage of early years staff. The pay and conditions is not great. everyone just helped out. People did extra and people just were around and changed their rotas. Thank goodness for that. Communications and relationships. It was very difficult to keep the community ethos when parents couldn't meet up with each other. New parents couldn't meet other parents. The support networks just weren't there. It was very difficult to encourage a sense of parent partnership between the nursery and the parents and the home. When parents weren't allowed in the classrooms and they couldn't see the children's work actually and be there and actually be part of the children's learning in the nursery. So we had daily updates for parents. We phoned them if the people weren't there. We were always available if they needed us. There was a great, one of the managers did a fantastic newsletter which would go home with photos every week. And also the care home helped us to keep the relationship with the relatives of the families in the care home by sending weekly updates to the relatives of what was happening in the home, always including the programs that we were delivering intergenerationally. And it actually made a phenomenal difference that to the relatives and to the care home, because they could provide very little. They couldn't have volunteers in. They actually, so many of their staff were ill, and we were actually able to just give that extra stimulation, that extra relationship to the residents who were so isolated. Accessing children's services. There was a shortage of specialist educational and development support. We couldn't, speech and language therapists, education psychologists, social workers, they wouldn't come in and we actually couldn't get hold of them. Nobody would answer the phones. So we called in favors. One of our board is a speech and language therapist. We spoke to people, we signposted families to private providers, and we gained confidence in actually being that extra support ourselves for the families. The logistics, we had to have bubbles, and that was really very difficult when you're trying to feed children and you've only got one kitchen and you can't meet and there's the risk of cross infection. You know, it was a nightmare, okay, but we kept going. We divided our entrance and outside entrance into two so that we actually had two separate play areas where the children could actually play outside and be out together. And one member of our team, and that was me, was seconded onto the Nightingale care home site. And that is really what actually kept things going, because the care home did not have anybody on site who had time and the expertise to actually deliver the program from the home. So what we did was the intergenerational lead in the nursery, one of the managers actually was working from the home, and I was based solely in the care home. I did not go into the nursery at all. I would liaise with the nursery staff via Zoom and on phone call and so on. And I would go into the home, and I was the person who ensured that the program happened in the care home, because I was based there, and obviously having lateral flow tests, PCR tests, and because I am myself clinically vulnerable, being incredibly careful, both that I didn't bring anything in, but that I didn't catch anything as well. And that actually made all the difference, because we were then able to continue our program throughout the pandemic. One of the other major challenges was IT. We didn't actually have any initially, particularly. We didn't know how to use Zoom. Our internet access was dreadful. And we couldn't be taught by experts because they couldn't come in on site. So we learned, we bought new equipment, we chased up the internet providers, which improved the Wi-Fi, and we learned on the job. And this is the way that we actually managed to deliver the program. There were 4 main strategies. We worked over Zoom when no one was allowed to be on site. The first 2 months was when we actually delivered those, the program that I told you about, how we supported, continued to deliver a program with the children. We also, through that, because I was able to go into the home, we were able to actually integrate residents through into that, having more windows on Zoom. And the intergenerational baby and toddler group, we delivered on Zoom with a limited number of families so that there weren't too many windows. And those families we would sit there, the residents would be with me in the, and obviously support care staff in the home. And we would be building the relationship, which continued in a fantastic way. Obviously not nearly as good as in person, but it did continue right through until we opened the baby room. So that was about what, nearly 18 months. And now, because we have the baby room, we're actually able to do an intergenerational baby and toddler group that way as well. We had a fantastic partnership with parents. They arranged videos of their children dancing, talking, that we could then send to the residents that could be shown, and went also to the relatives of the residents. They would send cards and pictures, and residents would actually send them back as well. They would wave at each other from the end of the garden, which is where we're based. And we even had a Zoom social where we had a murder mystery with residents. I went into the home and facilitated that. It was an early evening, and we had parents and we had staff, and we managed to just keep those relationships going. And when the sun was shining in the summer, we were able to be socially distanced. We would have the children on the grass and the residents sitting all around, and we would actually do things together. We would actually do arts and crafts, sing songs, and we always had our Shabbat ceremony together, socially distanced, and also our Havdalah ceremony, which ends the Sabbath, so that we had a structure in the week. At one stage, we were able to be inside together, socially distanced, and there was a large hall. We put a strip in the middle, and we would be on either side of the hall doing parallel things together. We even managed a sports day that way. Currently, we're at the stage, which we have been for a while, that when the weather's bad, which it isn't at the moment, you can see I'm actually sitting outside, which is not usual. We actually have a glass door, and the children are behind one glass door, the residents are on the other side, and we are daily actually doing a variety of activities together. And gradually the glass door is kind of opening up, so that we actually can see each other and hear each other better. And great. I do think, I'm on my last sentence, okay. I do think that as soon as we've had our boosters, we will be able to be back again on site. So stop share.
Thank you, Judith. I know now, I mean, I didn't stop you because you have had incredible experiences. And I must say, the word I'm going to use is resilient. I mean, you have had a lot of challenges, and somehow you have, worked through that. I wish I could say that the end is near. I don't know. I think the UK is a little more vaccinated than we are here, but I think the challenges will continue. And I just really want to applaud you for the creativity you've shown. I would, let's see, are Suzanne or Jenna on, Sherry?
No, and I realized that I got an email from Suzanne that she didn't have the link, so I sent her the link. So hopefully she'll join us at some point.
Okay, so then we have a couple of minutes for questions, I think, and then we'll, this is called, there's a great little quote, blessed are the flexible, for they never get bent out of shape. So we're just, Sherry and I did a little, let's see, we did an agenda, but I think we'll just be flexible with this. So there are are there any questions for Judith? And I don't know if you just want to raise your hand or raise your hand online or what? Let's see, is there anybody? I'm sure some of these challenges are things that others have experienced as well.
If I could just make a comment, Judith, I would just say that you're right. There is some connectivity and similarity, and you really hit on all of our pressure points as a shared site as well. We went through many of the same challenges, and for whatever reason, even government, right? We have two separate governments, but for some reason, early childhood ed is always behind elementary and older age students, the school systems, right? But yet we would have the babies sneezing in our faces and giving that direct care, whereas a teacher in front of the class at least has some distance, right? So it's been really difficult. I really resonated with that difficulty with parents feeling that connectivity. And what we realize is that our licensing representative had shared with us that statistically reports from centers had increased. They'd almost tripled during that season because there was not that direct engagement that was permissible in the classes. So thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say that I have got some pictures to show how it worked. If anybody wanted to see any visuals, well, not now, but I can obviously share with Sherry, just so you can see. But it was very, very demoralizing for our staff. Yeah. Because every week when we had our updates, they never included early years, and they would always say, "Oh no, that means that you're just included. You're just included," but we weren't. They didn't. They would validate. They would applaud the care staff. They would applaud the teachers, but they never ever mentioned early years. And we had a minister of childcare and early years who voted against providing free school meals over the over the winter holidays for children in families that were eligible for free school meals. So you can imagine how unsupportive that woman was.
Yeah, I think the parent relationships to me also stood out, how difficult that is. Anyone else who had a question for Judith or shared similar experiences?
Hi, this is Maria from Hearts and Minds Activity Center. Just kind of a general question. So first of all, Judith, thank you so much for your great presentation. We experienced so many similar issues. I think it's kind of worldwide how people view early childhood education. Our other issue too is because we're an adult daycare for people with dementia. Everything that was coming out was around residential, and I had to fight. I literally had to go to one of our state senators to get some advocacy on our behalf. It was just that frustrating. But one of the things that we're experiencing right now, we still do our intergenerational. We have our kids in one room. So we're one large shared site. We run both the adult daycare and the preschool. And we're not letting our kids physically interact with our seniors. They're doing everything through Zoom. We have huge screens, and so it is real time. The reason why we're doing that is because all of our seniors are protected through the vaccine, but our children are not. And with the Delta variant, we're very concerned about their health. And I'm just wondering what everybody else is experiencing with that and what you're doing around that.
Anyone want to share their experience? Just raise your hand.
Joanne.
Hi.
Hi.
So I mentioned I'm not in the classroom this year, so I have taken a break, but in the pandemic of last year, the same one, obviously, with the school age children, I was able to do a curriculum weekly. I saw 6 different groups every week, and I just tried to think about other ways to promote the relationships, even though we couldn't see them. So I was reading a lot of books with older adults as the main character, a strong main character, sometimes fictional, sometimes not. We did a lot of activities. Like I read to them, there's a great book called Henri's Scissors. I don't know if you all know that one, but it's about Henri Matisse. And it's really about how he adapted his art late in life when his abilities started to lessen. And so we read about him and we talked about him, and then we all tried cutting like he did. He switched from painting to cutting because he could lay in bed and do it. And then we would write, as a class, we would write like a paragraph, and I would photocopy a few pictures from a book, and we would put our art on the thing, and I'd make a big display to be sent upstairs. Upstairs for us is where our grand friends are. so I did that a lot. I read to them about, you know, an older woman who hiked the Appalachian Trail by herself. And I read them just loads and loads of books, and even like really cute little stories like The Granny Man, which is about a cat, an older cat that's basically ready to just lay down and take its last breath. And then a kitten is introduced to the home, and the cat has all this newfound energy and desire to teach the kitten things, and, you know, purpose. It has purpose and company and all kinds of wonderful things. And so we would talk about that. And with my oldest group, we did a whole study on what is age, what is old, you know, aging, the physical process of what happens to a body when it ages. And then we used the whole month of May to celebrate Older Adults Month with an anti-ageism campaign. And the kids made hashtags and memes, and every single day I was using all my social media accounts to share their work and try to, you know, disrupt ageism. So it was, for me, it was interesting and doable with my elementary school age, kindergarten up. But preschoolers, I think, really need personal interaction. It's not curriculum in an academic way. So that was my greatest challenge this last year.
That's some really interesting suggestions. And Allison, I was thinking about you with Scotland's combating ageism initiative. And it seems like some of those ideas could be really great in Scotland.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Nancy, can I just very quickly share one of our early years nurseries had volunteers come into the nursery to work with their children, older volunteers, and obviously COVID put paid to that, so they weren't allowed to come back in. One of the volunteers has dementia, and it was recognised during the pandemic that it was more detrimental against her health to actually not be with the children. And they were able to bring her back when the nursery was able to come back in. They spoke with the family, they spoke with parents, and they actually brought their volunteers back in. And I think that is a very bold move. I think that's very forward thinking, and not being, I know that red tape's here to protect us, but just looking at the big picture. And I do think there's a wee bit of that we need to break through to be able to give that opportunity back to people.
I agree. The social isolation is enormous, and the mental health impact of COVID is just being discussed, I think, more and more now. Anyone else who had any experiences dealing with COVID or had some more questions for Judith?
Judith, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, I think one of our problems is that because the director of care, because the home that we're situated in are responsible, and because of the fear of actually what if, the things that should have been happening, the opening up that actually would make such a difference to the quality of the residents' life has not been happening. And I know, you know, now when everybody in the home has been double vaccinated and the boosters are coming, and I myself have actually had my booster jab. There you are. It was my birthday.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating, because to me it's not as if I don't care, that I don't value, you know, that I'm being at all careless of these of our friends. And my husband happens to be the doctor in the home. So, I mean, it's not as if I can be wishing anything else. But I just think they've got to learn that this is life now. Life and death and the quality of life is what matters. And just as Alison, where they actually saw that the quality of life for that man, that person, that pensioner, really made all the difference. And we need to give people that a good ending, whenever that ending is going to be. And the mental health issues, not just for the children, but for the residents as well, are massive. We're going to be struggling to deal with all of this for a long, long time.
I agree. I agree. The long-term consequences are very, very, very scary. Anyone
you.
else?
Bella?
Yeah, I just wanted to come in and sort of echoing on what Judith was talking about. And yes, it has been pretty risk aversive across the section, but within sort of spaces and places across Scotland, it has been very much the case that in the beginning, no one knew how to use Zoom, no one knew how to connect. So it was a whole learning curve of that. And at the beginning of the year, in March last year, when we had our online sessions with practitioners, they would say, oh, it's really awful, we can't connect. We were doing it by telephone. But by the time we got to November, they were saying, oh, we're having online classes, we're doing Zumba, we're doing knitting, we're sharing between generations. So when people got and they learned, so it was a whole learning curve for us. And yourself getting into the home and keeping things together is quite remarkable, Judith, because many of the homes that we worked in a project across Scotland and we contacted 800 care homes, which was a huge task. But many of the homes that we contacted, what they were telling us was we've lost all connection with what we had. It wasn't a shared space, but it was still that intergenerational connection where people were coming into the home or people were going into the school or the community setting. So well done, Judith. And across the board, thousands and thousands of orgs have just had to learn how to reconnect in a different way.
Yes, I agree. People have to understand the importance of reconnection and then the strategies. And I think many of us are technologically challenged, but it sounds like many of you have figured out some interesting ways to connect. And also, Judith, as you said, that the door is, I guess, widening or whatever, that people are starting to be with each other in different ways. And I hope that we see that. I hope that we see more in person.
Yeah. I mean, people have, they can see. So because they're French windows, as it were, and gradually, instead of a crack, we've now got it where we've just got a little bit of glass here and there, you space here and space there. Look, there are meters between us. There is no danger there. There really is no danger there. And you know, and it's actually now coming from the home. They're asking for the spaces to be freer. So I do think there's a lot going on. One of the other things that we did do was we managed to keep our storytelling with an elder. We have a 96-year-old actor who lives alone.
Oh, wow.
She's involved in my other nursery, and we used to have our intergenerational there, and obviously everything changed because they weren't allowed to come into this. You know, everyone was stuck at home. And we've managed to keep storytelling via Zoom. I used to go in to support her, and then her carer took on that responsibility of actually, and we still continue to have our Zoom storytelling between the nursery and this 96-year-old actor. And it's just been amazing. She hasn't got her own children, but she said it just keeps her going, knowing this is going to happen.
Right. And it's great to empower the residents to be able to play those roles. And so storytelling is something that obviously can continue, and even getting other people who aren't necessarily actors, but to be able to, you know, prepare them to be able to do storytelling online could be a strategy.
Nancy, Lena has her hand up, so I wanted to make sure we call in.
You keep doing that because I can't see anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, just listening to the conversation, was thinking about my experience of going back into the care home as a volunteer and for just conversation with staff, and just wanted to share perhaps an obvious challenge, but it really struck me how much, how tiring it was for the residents to have a conversation with volunteers when we have our masks on. And it was really striking. So they were all able to not have a mask on, and volunteers and staff do. And it was really something that I thought a lot about, and some of them were actually well, at least one person was motivated to wear their hearing aid more because it was felt it would help perhaps. And now being back at university and teaching, I'm seeing that as well. So the impact of masks on our conversation, and unfortunately those that do have that transparent bit steam up. So also not a solution for those who need to lip read. So that's a kind of a small but actually quite a big hurdle sometimes in conversation. And just thinking back to what Judith was saying, I wonder, Judith, if you could comment a bit on how children learned to use Zoom to their advantage. Because talking to teachers and parents, I've heard that actually this helped them as well figure out, how best to, what to do to get people to get across in the way that they need to get across. What have you observed from children?
It depends a lot on the age group. One of the most exciting, I don't know, joyous moments was with the baby and toddler Zooms, where the babies are just coming closer and closer to the screen. and these faces are just coming close because they're exploring the screen, they're exploring everything, and it looks as though they're looking directly at the residents, and the faces of the residents as they see these beautiful babies just coming closer and closer has really been absolutely delightful. And the children seem to really understand that, when they were doing their dance, when they were dancing for the residents, you felt very much it was as if they knew that the residents, their friends, we haven't got used to the idea of saying grand friends. I'm trying to get used to it, but it's terribly formal here in England. Everyone just says residents or friends, nobody seems to have actually got their head round a more inclusive and a warmer, friendlier term. But you could see that the children, it's as if the screen isn't there when they're actually linking with, but they are learning IT skills and they want it to work. What surprised me a lot was our new families, children who came and hadn't known any of the residents, and the new residents who didn't know the children, how quickly they built up relationships. Because I had wondered whether they would be able to. I expected those that already had the relationships to maintain them, and we were just trying to keep them going. What I didn't expect was that new relationships, and very strong ones, would be built between children who arrived during COVID and hadn't actually known the residents first. And that was really, so one little girl who actually was there, who really bonded with one of our elder residents who himself had never had children, and his name is Jerry. And when she was asked, so who's your best friend? And she said, who's coming to your party? And she said, Cherry is coming. So she was delicious. And she made special cards. And when she went off to the big school, which she's just done in September, it was him that made it that she was most upset about kind of losing the relationship with, and she made a special card and gave a gift and everything. And he was moved to tears by it all. And they have said they will keep coming to visit him.
Thank you. Yeah, the children are lovely. I'm volunteering with Judith's current activities, and it's just amazing how gentle and patient they are, and the initiative they take sometimes to kind of, they pick up on the boundaries that you've set there in terms of that screen, and within those boundaries they take initiative and do something where they could just show what they've created to the resident, and that starts the kind of conversation. It's really nice to be part of that.
That's great. Sherry, is there anyone else who has their hand raised? Oh yes, here we go with Joanne.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing that we did with the younger children. Actually, it was two activities with the slightly younger ones that were really fun. One is I found these beautiful, very simple picture frames from IKEA that are meant to be for double-sided. So like there's just a frame with a glass inside and it's plastic. And we went out and we collected at 2 different times of the year, we collected lots of nature treasures like beautiful fall leaves, and we put those on contact paper and put them in the frames, and I brought them upstairs to our grand friends. And then another thing we had the younger ones do is we talked about the senses, and we made sensory pouches that we sent up to our 5th floor dementia patients. We did tactile ones that we had made, and we also made olfactory, smell. We talked about how that can enhance memories. That smells can call up memories, and the kids shared like memories of their own that are connected to smells. And then we put cinnamon and coffee and different things into little baggies and labeled them and made them like a lovely little packet to go upstairs.
That's great. Well, Jenna, you came just in time, but I also wanted to welcome Lorraine. I saw her somewhere. Where are you? You want to just introduce yourself for Lorraine?
Hi, yes. My name is Lorraine George. I'm in the West Country in the UK, so I work for Torbay.
Great. Well, yeah. Do you want to continue, or that's...
Yeah, no. I deliver the early years program for Torbay Council, which is a local authority, and we have, or prior to COVID, had a co-located childminding intergenerational program based in a care home, which is currently on hold at the moment. So really just been working through COVID, just trying to keep everybody linked in and keeping relationships going.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. And since Jenna, you joined us, we just had a great presentation from Judith in London. We have a large UK contingent and Canadian contingent, and we have someone from Spain, and we have people from all over the country. So Jenna's with One Generation in Los Angeles, and thanks for joining us. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on in One Generation. I know you didn't get a chance to listen to Judith because you were in a meeting, but it'll be interesting to see, whether some of the challenges in your strategies are similar or whether they differ greatly. So welcome, Jenna.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you're at. I apologize for being late. We had a board meeting scheduled this morning as well. So Nancy, you want me to just kind of share a little bit about our challenges and where we're at right now with our intergenerational program specifically?
That would be great. That would be great.
Okay. Sure, absolutely. So for those of you who are not aware, One Generation, like Nancy said, we're based in Los Angeles. We have an intergenerational shared site here, and it's primarily an adult daycare location for older adults with cognitive impairment, where they come during the day, socialize, engage with each other, and receive a variety of different services, nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and then they go home at the end of the day. So the goal of that program is to allow for these individuals to stay at home for as long as possible, while also providing their loved ones, oftentimes their family caregivers, with respite. And then on the same campus, we have a preschool and childcare program for children ages 6 weeks to 6 years. So prior to COVID, if you've ever had an opportunity to see some of our videos or the work that we do, it's truly remarkable, the children and seniors engaging throughout the day on various different activities. Even, our seniors would rock babies to sleep, feed them bottles, read them books, and then our older children would engage with, we call them our neighbors, the seniors, with a variety of different activities, golfing, watercolor, cultural activities, all throughout the day. It was wonderful. And of course, the intergenerational component spilled out onto our other programs, like our senior center, where we did teen mentoring, at-risk youth programs with our more active seniors at our senior center. And then of course we have the Grandparents as Parents Kingship Care program, which is another intergenerational component where we provide kingship support to grandparents who have custody of their grandchildren, or are caring for their grandchildren because their parents aren't allowed to. So intergenerational work is a core foundation of all the programs that we have here at One Generation. But in specific to our shared site, of course, when COVID hit, both programs, our adult daycare program had shut down for in-person instruction. Our childcare did stay open because it was considered an essential business, and we made ourselves available to provide childcare to the essential workers out there in Los Angeles. So that was really, really important for this area in Los Angeles to have access to childcare services as essential workers continue to work in the field. So when we originally shut down, of course, we wanted to still continue intergenerational engagements, but it was a little tricky and challenging on how we were going to do that because of the different barriers that we faced with the populations that we were serving. So it took a little bit of time, but we were able to engage our older adult participants with intergenerational Zoom activities. So we purchased tablets in all of our childcare classrooms. And then we also provided access to funding for tablets for our seniors who didn't have the technology tools that they needed. And then we would basically continue the intergenerational activities just in a virtual setting. So we did a lot of like book reading and bingo. So we would, what we would do is, obviously the activities require materials like bingo, for instance. So we're still doing this, sending activity packets each month to our older adults. And then when we have the scheduled intergenerational activities, they would use the materials in that packet. Sorry about that. My phone. Okay, so yeah, we would use the intergenerational activity packets to continue the intergenerational activities for our children and seniors. So we were allowed to reopen our adult daycare program in July of 2021, so about 2 months ago. We are still not allowed to commingle the two groups, the children and the seniors, for the guidelines that are set forth by the adult daycare programs. So we've gotten a little more creative, and because it's a shared site, we have a lot of outdoor space. So what we've been doing is engaging and reintroducing the intergenerational activities outside through a fence. So children stay on one side, seniors stay on another, but they're still definitely able to communicate with one another and engage with one another just from a distance. So and of course, just like many of you are probably doing, we've also transitioned to a hybrid model. So when we were able to reopen, we still had a handful of our participants and their caregivers not comfortable with coming back to in-person. And we understand the importance of continuing that engagement with them. So we're moving forward with both having Zoom engagements as well as in-person engagements. And I think that's where we're going to continue moving forward on a long-term basis, and definitely is offering these programs both virtually and in person. So, the challenges have just really been focused around how we can identifying the barriers that our two populations are facing, whether it's technology access, financial assistance, or whatever it may be, and then trying to problem solve around how we can address those barriers to continue those intergenerational engagements. And now that we're reopening, we're starting to transition back into what we were originally doing. So any questions, or did I answer your what you needed, Nancy?
Sure, I'm sure there are some questions or some comments from people. A lot of people are struggling with exactly the same challenges. So any questions for for Jenna, because this is different. This is adult daycare, not nursing home. So there, is a difference. And I think it's interesting to see when you have people in a specific place like you do, Judith, and you're there with them. It's different. People have choices to come in and out where they're in the nursing home. It's interesting to see what strategies you've used to stay connected to people who don't come and to meet the needs of those who do.
Yeah, and even prior to COVID, it was always a choice. Everybody knew that our programs were focused around intergenerational connections. So when we were enrolling participants in the daycare or the childcare, we made it very clear that it is your choice to participate. And we do have older adults who it's not for them. They like the concept of our adult daycare, but they're just not into intergenerational. So we always have, and continue to, even with COVID, have separate activities that they can engage in that doesn't involve children. So that was and continues to be a very important component in making the program successful. We're not forcing anything, and with our children especially, about 100% of our parents are big fans of intergenerational, so they enroll in our program, and that's one of the reasons why, but not so much for some of the seniors, and we respect that.
Right, and choice. We all know respecting choice, giving people the opportunity to engage or not engage is really important. Shannon, so nice to see you. I see your hand up.
Yeah, Shannon and Judith both have their hands up.
I know, I'm going to get Judith next.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you saw them.
Shannon, so go ahead, Shannon.
Maybe I was reading Judith's mind, and I'll have a question that Judith was going to ask. It's so nice to hear from the One Generation folks again. And I was curious if during that period, I think, Jenna, you were describing that the older adults were watching the kids on their iPads from their own homes. Was that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
We first, we wanted to continue the intergenerational activities, and we knew that our participants were at home. And we also knew where we're located in Los Angeles. We're in the San Fernando Valley in Van Nuys. We have a lot of underserved communities that are low income, and they receive adult daycare services through their Medicaid or Medi-Cal. So access to resources like a laptop or an iPad, some of our participants didn't have it. So we do have financial assistance benefits programs here at One Generation, where we were able to buy and purchase tablets, and then also get them enrolled in a low-income internet service that allowed them to connect and stay connected. Of course, though, that it was also, we depended upon the help of their caregivers, their family members, and that's been a big, a big struggle, I think, as well as recognizing the impact that having to for family caregivers who depended upon adult daycare for respite for themselves, and oftentimes these caregivers, particularly the ones that are enrolling their loved one in our programs, are in that sandwich generation. So they have children that they're caring for as well, and then their parents, and then their own jobs. So we also made it a point to try to be as innovative as possible in how we can benefit our caregivers, because the burnout rate and the effect that staying at home with their loved one and their children has been a tremendous barrier for them. So also, focusing on that component as well has been important.
Yeah, we're hearing that this is a multi-generational as well as intergenerational issues. I think, the caregivers, parents, how to keep people involved. Those are all really big issues. Judith, you had a question too. You put your...
Yes, I'm trying to unmute myself. Thank you. Yes, and I'll take my hand down as well whilst I can remember. Thank you. So you're right, Shannon. It was very a similar question, or linked in that one of our problems had been the fact that our residents do not know how to use IT, and weren't able to learn that new skill. The carers in the home didn't have time to sit and help them, and the volunteers, of course, weren't allowed on. So I just wondered whether you were able to actually, how you were able to facilitate the learning to use those iPads, to actually make everything accessible, give them the independence that they would need in order to continue with those intergenerational or any relationships through IT?
Great question, and I'm going to put a link here. So our Alzheimer's disease and related dementia program manager was facing this exact issue. We can't go in the home to provide them with the technical support. The caregivers don't necessarily have the time to spend to learn how to utilize and use Zoom, because that was the platform that we were using. So what we did is she created a very user-friendly step-by-step guide that was actually just published. Here, let me send you this. Here's the link right here. It was just published on the NADRC's website to use as a Zoom tip sheet of step-by-step, very easy guidance. And I will go ahead and put that link.
Great, thank you.
In the chat box. We also, for those who were able to, we got creative on how we can connect and engage with the members without going into the home. So, you know, we would often, our social workers and case managers would meet up with our caregivers at like a park area outside our senior center, or we have grass area out here. So meet them outside with the tablets where we know that they can get Wi-Fi access, and we can teach them from a distance, but still in person. So we even did that, where we would be meeting people outside, anything that we could do to make it easier for them. So that we did with a few of our participants or caregivers. And then once they were able to pick it up, then that helped. So yeah.
That sounds brilliant. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nancy,
Maria,
yeah.
I see your hand up.
Hey, so I just wanted to say,
The little thing.
yeah, great work. And I think we're going through very similar things as you are. I just wanted to say we did a lot of similar things, and just a few things that we did as well, besides a guide, because there were a lot of folks who couldn't follow the guide. So we did do something online that was pretty simple, but then there were folks who still had a problem. So I had a number of volunteers who had a lot of IT experience, and they literally called everybody and walked them through the process. And sometimes it was several times we walked them through the process. You know, we're on the phone and okay, now click this, now do that. So that helped with a lot of folks. I think though, Jenna, similar to your experience, there were just some people, because they were either sandwich generation or they were just really burned out. The idea of doing one more thing was really, really hard for them. So then we had a number of staff who, because we were at that time couldn't provide in-person services for our seniors, I moved them all over to half the staff were doing Zoom online activities. The other half were making calls every day to all of our families. We had, at the time of the pandemic hit, we had about 130 families. So, so that was giving them hopefully, you know, more support. Then once we got everybody more comfortable with using any kind of computer technology, and similar to you, Jenna, we had some folks who couldn't afford it. So we worked with our local Council on Aging SourceWise to get funds to provide them with those services and those products. Then we started doing very short, brief Zoom trainings on a weekly basis. The idea was to do it in like less than 30 minutes, because if you're a caregiver, more than 30 minutes, even 30 minutes is a big chunk out of the day to just take time away from your loved one. That being said, there were still people who just not having the in-person was really devastating. So through like I said earlier, the advocacy of our local government and state government, we actually reopened to a pilot program in May. And now we're fully open, although because of social distancing, typically we can serve 90 people a day, but we can't right now serve more than 58 a day. And we still can't have our kids together with our seniors in person. They are Zooming in. We have 3 large program rooms, so they're Zooming into each room for activities and connection. But it's interesting, the parents of our childcare kind of feeling like their kids are not getting, they totally understand, they're very supportive, but they're feeling very frustrated that their kids aren't getting that in-person experience. But our big concern is, even though our seniors are vaccinated, our kids are not, and we can't take that risk. But anyway, Jenna, I would love to hear more, like explore more what you guys do, since we're just in the same state.
Far away.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, Maria, I'll put my email in the chat box. I'd love to connect with you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.
California is a big place, but you two aren't that far away from each other.
That's correct.
Where are you from, Maria?
San Jose. So one of the benefits that we have is, we're in Silicon Valley. I mean, Zoom is literally probably the headquarters 3 miles from where we're located. So we have a lot of support with technology here.
Awesome.
Are there any other challenges that people have had or questions? Carolina, I'm wondering, is Microsod open now in Granada, or are people interacting?
Yes, and the center is open. It's open now. We have children from 0 to 3 years, older people, they are interacting in outdoors.
Outdoors only.
Outdoors, yes, only outdoors. Older people, they have masks, but the children, since they are very little, they don't have masks, and so we have to have a lot of. We have to be very careful because they always want to touch each other and to share materials, balloons, that kind of things. So it's been they are having these encounters. They are interacting, but it's an extra work because we have to be very careful with the protocols to clean hands. Be careful not to touch, to take off the masks. So, but I think that we are on our way. We are happy because we have been a lot of time closed because some people have been positive in COVID, but right now they are all older people. They are all vaccinated, professionals too. So now the center is entire open.
Wow.
We are crossing our fingers.
No, that's great because I'm surprised because Spain had a lot of challenges early on. So it is interesting that your center is one of the few that is actually open, open full time. And even though they're socially distanced, it sounds like there's a lot going on a daily basis.
Yes, we are very happy that the people they want to interact like they were doing before, but it's not possible. But
right.
We are trying to do our best.
Right, which is all any of us can do right now. Bella, you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's just really to say that in the beginning and for the last year, because people haven't been able to connect, we've been encouraging them to look at the 8 levels of intergenerational practice. And what we've said is, although you can't meet each other, why don't you discuss ageism? Why don't we look at things together while we're apart and prepare? And so one of the Excellence Awards this year went to a project who they haven't done the intergenerational work yet, but they've done the planning and they're prepared and they're getting started with after school care and a forest nursery. So they're doing the work outside with the forest school, and they're going to work with a local sheltered housing complex. But what they've done is all the prep, and the manager of the centre recognised the value of intergenerational practice and did the IDIL course, and then went on to train all their staff in intergenerational practice. I just thought it was something I'd bring in, that although there wasn't anything, there was things that weren't happening, the connections weren't there as in, physical. There was things happening in the background, which Alison actually promoted me to encourage people to think about the levels of intergenerational practice. Thanks.
And I don't know if you all know, this is, I think you're talking about Matt Kaplan's continuum. It's like the depth of engagement. and it looks at different levels, and that people start at different points. And the one level is just at a distance learning about each other, and the other level would be a shared site or an intergenerational community. But in between, there are lots of things that you can do. And I think, again, we're all trying to do the best we can with the circumstances that we're faced with. So that's great. We're coming near the end, and I wondered, I want to tell you, I made a choice. I hope it's okay. We were going to break into breakout rooms, but I thought the conversation was really interesting. And I just felt it was so wonderful to hear from people, different parts of the country and different parts of the world, that I made the decision to just keep going since we can see everybody online. I hope that was okay. Are there any last comments? And then I'm going to turn it over to you, Sherry. But any last comments before Sherry kind of takes us to the future? Was this helpful to you, Joanne? Lori?
I have a request, actually, of this group that we're networking here. This last year of sort of on the fly making a curriculum for elementary school kids to have an intergenerational experience without actually getting to be with their grandfriends makes me think about writing up some sort of a curriculum for kids who go to school not in a nursing home, which is certainly more children than who do. And I was just wondering if anybody was interested in collaborating and helping me kind of, take some ideas and really put something together.
Yeah, that sounds great. It looks like Lori's raising her hand. And Lena's raising her hand.
So I'll put I think I've already put my, oh no, maybe I did it personally. I'm going to put my email address in the messages. And anybody who wants to reach out and talk about this I'd love that.
Yeah, and we have another speaker who maybe we'll put her in the next one, Sherry, Suzanne Lair, who she does run a program. She's in Oklahoma, Jenks Elementary School. It's a kindergarten in a nursing home, but she has developed a pretty extensive curriculum that she could also share within a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
Any other final comments before I turn it over to Sherry? Well, okay, I think it was great. I learned so much from all of you, and I just hope we can continue this and continue to add people both globally and within the United States. So Sherry, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Nancy was saying and what we're, this is our second meeting, and we're looking at how we can develop and make this network useful to you. So any feedback, ideas, comments you have, please don't hesitate to email Nancy or me and let us know. As I mentioned, we'll get the directory working. We talked about if there's an email group that we should try to create so that folks can kind of send something out, whether through social media or just through an email list. So again, we're exploring these opportunities, new technology. We'd like to host these types of meetings every other month is what we're looking at right now, based on the feedback from the survey that we sent out to you. It seemed like some folks wanted them more frequently, some people wanted them less frequently, so we kind of split it down the middle. So we'll be sending out some save the date for November, which would be the next time, and then back into January for us to connect and again have these. If folks are interested in presenting, you'd like to talk about your program some more, if there's a specific topic, again, let us know. We're very open. We don't, we have our agenda and objectives is really just to have an opportunity for people to connect. That's it. So we want to make sure that it's useful. We don't really have anything other than that, any other objectives in what we're doing. We will be getting the directory out to you, so that'll definitely be step one. Please send me, Nancy, any feedback on the toolkit. That's again, just comments about, is there a certain section that was particularly useful? Is there something that could be clearer? Is there something that resonates or doesn't resonate with what your experiences have been? We really want that. One of the reasons that we did put it online was that it would be easier to edit than kind of creating a whole nother PDF and a new print version or something like that. So that, and then I think, yeah, and I think that's it. Thank you all for your time today, for sharing. I do have the Jamboard, and I'll save that and I can send that out to folks. There's a number of challenges on there. but we also really do want to focus on solutions. So I think it's been helpful to hear what folks are doing. So thank you all, and we'll look forward to talking to you virtually soon.
Thank you to Jenna and Judith.
Yes,
Also thank you to Jenna and Judith, the Jays, for presenting and sharing what you're doing there, and for everybody. I mean, I think you shared a lot of both your challenges and your insights and lessons learned. So this is what this is about, you know, sharing experiences. So thank you all. We look forward to seeing you in November, and good luck with everything that you're doing, and hopefully things will be a little better in November.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you. Wish everyone well.
Yes, thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.